Well, here we are, another stop on the journey to finding hope, inspiration, and positivity in this crazy world we all live in. You are listening to Changing the Perspective podcast. If you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel and like this video below. If you are listening on a podcast service, please like our podcast on your preferred service. No matter how you choose to hear this interview, we are grateful you are following us on this journey. New interviews will be released weekly and cover a variety of topics that all bring a situation of struggle that end in positivity. Maybe you can relate to an interview topic, or maybe you just need some hope and inspiration. Either way, enjoy. Hey everyone, I want to welcome you back for another episode of Changing the Perspective. Today, we're actually talking with a relationship expert. Rachel, is it Scheer? That yeah,
Yeah.
Rachel Scheer. I connected with her because I saw a post on Facebook about relationships, and we had been talking about doing kind of a Valentine's Day discussion and posting on Valentine's weekend for both Marty and I. And that came up, and I thought, ooh, I would really like to explore some different areas a little more deeper with an expert. And so I reached out to Rachel based off of several people that posted about her on Facebook and said, "Hey, do you mind coming on our show?" So here she is. I appreciate you being here. For all of our viewers, this is the first time that you're really getting to see Marty on camera more than like a few minutes, seconds at a time. He's not really happy about this, but I appreciate him being here as well. So, Rachel, tell us a little bit about you and kind of what you're offering for your people.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on your show. So, again, my name is Rachel. I am a relationship coach. I have a website, lovelaughleisure.com, where I give lots of dating tips, relationship advice. I'm certified to help singles and couples. So, I love to talk about love, intimacy, everything that has to do with relationships. I actually just wrote a book about dating called Date to Find Your Soulmate, which is out on Amazon February 2nd. So I just love talking about love. It's my favorite topic. And I'm excited that we're talking about love languages today because I've known about it for years. And I always ask guys when I go on dates, it's one of the first questions I ask them to figure out how they like to show love. So we can find out how compatible we are and how we need to change our behavior so we can show love the right way for them.
Yeah, I love it. So, Marty and I, when we started dating, we in his profile, he actually listed his love language. And in us discussing, I was surprised that as a guy, he actually knew it because when I was dating, I would ask the question, and typically they're like, "What's that?" Most men didn't know. And so that was definitely an attractive quality right off the bat because he already knew his love language, which I found amazing. So I think it's awesome that you asked that question of your people. Do you find that very many guys know theirs?
Over the past few years, guys are more familiar with it.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 years ago, guys had no idea. They had never heard of it. Women too. But I find that a lot of men that are divorced start to do work on themselves and figure out exactly what went wrong. And then they start to understand, oh, we didn't show each other's love languages. That's why we got divorced.
Yeah.
So it's helpful for their second relationships once they come back around and learn what to do differently this time.
Which actually that is the case for both of us. This is our second marriage. And so we both did a lot of kind of self-understanding after our first relationships. So um, you know, everybody's opinion on divorce and all of that is a thing. We have found phenomenal, differences in electricity and love in our second way because we looked for things differently than we did our first times around. And so yeah, it's a thing. So tell us a little bit more about love languages. Kind of give us a rundown of that for our audience that doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah, exactly. Good idea. So, The Five Love Languages is a book written by Gary Chapman. He came up with this concept that there are five ways people like to show love. Those five ways are words of affirmation, gifts, physical touch, quality time, and acts of service. And the thing is, each person will communicate love more effectively by doing one of these types of love languages. And the love language of your partner is often different from yours. So the common thing is to show love the way that you like to receive it, but then it's not going to work for your partner. Let's say that you like gifts. You like to receive a lot of gifts. So therefore, you give your partner a lot of gifts because that's what you know best. But maybe your partner doesn't care about gifts. So if you give him a lot of gifts, but then he doesn't give you any gifts back, then you're sort of in conflict with each other because you're not receiving what you want and your partner's not receiving what he wants. So then you're not showing love the correct way. So you have to learn which expressions of love are most important to your partner. And then that's the one that you need to show or give to your partner. So let's talk in more detail about all five of them.
Okay.
So let's start with words of affirmation. So words have the power to build up or undermine your partner. They can be words of appreciation, encouragement, affirmation, and kindness. Like saying I love you. Maybe your partner really likes that when you just say I love you, or if you give a lot of compliments, or you have deep discussions and you say really nice things to your partner regularly. If your partner lights up from the powerful words that you say, then that could likely be your partner's love language. Before we go on to the next, do you have anything to add about words of affirmation?
That's one of our. We have actually when we met. I'm going to talk now, I guess. Um, when we met, our top three of the five, our top three were the same. So uh,
Now in different order.
in different order, but very. They were all still right there. Um,
Words of affirmation is actually number 1 for me,
right,
that it's like number 3 for him.
right.
So you talking about this, he knows to tell me like great things, and I just like am the happiest little person ever when I hear, the great things, the I love yous and you're amazing and I'm so happy that this has worked out. Those like basic things that just like make me all warm inside. So words of affirmation are definitely something that I really grip onto myself. And he does a really good job at it. It being number 3 for him, he enjoys it. Um, but it's not like what brings him over the edge or something, like that. Although there are moments where he's just like, "Oh, that was wonderful to hear." Like you can see it in his face or his language, but that's not his number 1. So, but for me, it definitely is. The downfall to that though, I would also say is I was in a abusive situation, my prior, and the words reversed on me. So being a words of affirmation person, I was seeking it out, but never heard it. And it almost became a detriment a little bit, based off of the situation I was in. So it's been both positive and negative for me, honestly. But I learned to work through it. And now I get all the positive. It's wonderful.
Well, it comes a little more natural because it is kind of higher up on my score, I guess. I think too, it lends itself to being more conversational, being interested in what they have to say, the other person has to say. When we first met, and still, I think it lends itself a little bit to being able to want to learn about that other person and ask them about all the things because you don't know, you just met them. But then a little later on, the the whole "how was your day" thing and being able to actually listen, I think that kind of buys into that words of affirmation thing as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's true. And just as you were saying, if somebody is verbally abusive, that can be terrible, especially if someone's top love language is words of affirmation.
Yeah.
Because if they're constantly saying "I hate you" instead of "I love you," or giving you insults, or just criticizing everything, about you, then that's really hurtful. And it's extra hurtful if that's at the top of your list.
Yes. It was hard.
But I'm glad you're out of that situation.
Me too.
So let's move on to number 2, gifts. Receiving and giving gifts. That is another love language. So these are visual symbols of love. It's easiest to learn, and giving presents, it's is a way of investing in your relationship. It can be inexpensive but have a high value. So making a gift can be very meaningful to your partner if that's what your partner's love language is. And don't wait for special occasions to give them, and you can discover what your partner likes. So maybe if your partner loves, if you bring her weekly flowers, like every Friday you come home with flowers, that could light up her world. So just learn what types of gifts your partner likes and then give that. And it should just come from the heart. Like maybe it could be a card that you make, or something small that you were just thinking of your partner, and you thought, oh, I know my partner likes this cookie, so I'm going to buy him a cookie every time I pass this bakery. So it could be something really small but meaningful to your partner.
Yeah.
So do you have anything else to add about gifts?
I don't think so. That's my very last. I don't put value on that. I put value on memories, not on things. And so receiving gifts just aren't, I don't put a lot of value in that because I just see it as another thing. Now, with that being said, he could bring me flowers and it could have an amazing card. And now the words of affirmation have come back up because he said something amazing in the card. But it really wasn't about the flowers for me. It was about what was in the card. And so he's learned he could almost bypass the flowers and just give me the card. Because gifts, I have no value in that. I think it's pretty low on
It's low.
yours.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we're both the top three
Yeah.
are the same, that one's down there somewhere towards the
Now,
bottom.
in both of our past relationships, our people were gift people. I don't know my ex-partner's actual love language, but just based off of how he was in person, I'm guessing that had to have been 1 or 2 for him. Because I gifts being low for me, I didn't necessarily buy him gifts, but he bought himself a lot of stuff, and so I could just feel like maybe that was something that helped him. Um, since it's low for me, I just didn't understand it really well, and that's on me for not understanding it at the time. But for us, that's just not as much of a thing, at least here. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I might have
Yeah.
something to add later.
Okay. Um, I'm with you. I words of affirmation is at the top of my list, and gifts is last on my list also.
Yeah,
So, but of course, it's different for everyone.
right.
So, okay. So number 3 is physical touch. Touch is a powerful communicator of love, and it speaks louder than words for some people. It can take all sorts of forms: holding hands, an arm around a shoulder or waist, hugging, kissing, cuddling on the couch, a brush of the body as you pass, a massage, foreplay, and of course, sex.
Mhm.
And sexual and non sexual touch are both equally important if that's your partner's love language. So learn ways to give all types of touch if that's what your partner craves the most.
Yeah. So that is your number
That's my
1.
number one.
Very much like even just how was your day and rub his shoulder while you're asking, like very simple things. We have talked a lot about intimacy being sexual and then emotional as well. And that being at the top of his list, that definitely is something that strikes with him from a touch thing. It is number 2 or 3 for it's number 3 for me. Our number 2s are the same. It's number 3 for me, so I don't mind it. It's fine, but it's definitely not like my top of my list. But I do make sure that I at least, brush his hand or hold his hand or in the car, rub his shoulder because I know like that is where he feels all the warmth and the wonder, um, for sure.
I feel like I crave just the closeness of it.
Mhm.
I told the story, I don't know, a few times. It's not even that big of a story, but I can remember being in a store with her this one time, halfway through our relationship, current
Mhm.
relationship. So uh, she was behind me. We were waiting for the counter, to pay for what we had, and she just sort of leaned in to my back and put her arm around me. And I told her afterwards that that was like the best thing ever. Like I just felt so loved and wanted, and she just and I get a little bit of a chill just talking about it actually right now, kind of in my shoulders. But I think that a lot of people get hung up on the sex part of it. Oh, he's touched. He wants sex, or she wants sex, or whatever. And I feel like they're forgetting about all of the other stuff. As just as a human being, I feel like just on that level, humans crave touch of some kind. I know there's been studies on children. If you don't touch them for so long, the effect on them and so forth. But for me, it just that simple. Her leaning into my backside. I couldn't even see her and put her arm around me. I just felt like yes. Anyway, I can go on about that, but
Yeah, and that you brought up a really good point that some people think, oh, if touch is your number one, then it means you want sex all the time. But it's not just about sex, it's about all types of touch, as I said, and as you said. So,
Yeah, I look at, from his standpoint, although he enjoys sex, obviously, you're in a good relationship, you want that. But truly, if you look at your day, you spend more hours with a person that isn't in a sexual content way, but in just your everyday life. And so if you only focused on that one thing, you're really only focusing on them for a really short amount of your day, where you're focusing on all of the things outside of the sexual side. You're getting more touch points in on them through the several hours you're with them that isn't only dedicated to like intimate time. And so, I definitely had to learn, like, the simple, like you said in the store, just coming up, "Hey, I'm right here behind you," was of high importance. It wasn't just about sexual type things, and so, I think a lot of people do put some weight in something that isn't really, I mean, that's not a majority of your time with a person, so
yeah,
well,
yeah,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Another thing that we do pretty often that is in line with that is what we call couch time, and we like to get our couch time in. Usually, it's at the end after the end of the day, after we've worked all day and then made dinner and cleaned up and all that stuff. It Some days it feels like it's all to get to that couch time at the end of the day or in the evening where we get to just kind of hang out on the couch and be close with the TV on or whatever it may be. But we do a lot of the, I think you mentioned it, cuddling earlier. We do a lot of cuddling on the couch and just being together in
Mhm.
close proximity. I might have my hand on her, might be cuddled up with her, whatever, but we cherish that time of our days pretty often.
yeah.
Yeah. That leads me to the next love language, which is quality time.
Yeah.
Because quality time goes along with touch. If you want to be touching, you have to have quality time together. So, couples can spend time together without feeling connected. So, proper quality time involves focused attention. Togetherness is not only about physical proximity. In fact, you can have quality time on the phone or on Zoom if you live far apart. You have to have good communication for quality time. So make sure you learn to listen and speak. And companionship is a part of quality time, especially during meal times. So if you're sitting together eating and not focused on each other, then that's not really quality time. So make sure you're paying attention to each other while you're eating and talking. And just having a sense of comradeship, like developing a friendship around common activities or shared interests. So you can create those memories together by having quality time. whatever that means for you. So it could be just sitting looking into each other's eyes, maybe that's quality time, or doing an activity together. It can be different for everyone as long as you feel like it's completing your idea of quality time.
Yeah. So that is number 2 for both of us. That's the only one that matches up
completely.
completely. Um, and that is where our couch time definitely comes in. That's our decompression from the day. That's our, and sometimes we do have our phones on us, but we had dinner without our phones. We talked about our day, and now we're ready to just kind of melt into the evening. But with you talking about eating, we actually went out to dinner with some family last night, and across the way, I made a comment. There was a couple sitting there, and they're both on their phone and their dinners are in front of them, they're eating and they're playing on their phone. I'm not sure that the whole time we were there, they said 2 or 3 words to each other. And I said, "Surely they're not on, like, a first date or something, right? Like, that's awkward." And his cousin that was across the table said, "Oh, no, they've been married a while. Like, they're just to that point." And I was like, "I don't feel like it should have to be like that, though. If you're married a while." I mean, I'm not sure they looked at each other the whole time, and it was sad to me. I was just so disappointed. I wanted to go over and go, "Put your phones down." So, with that being said, here's a question for you, on a relationship expert type place is, are you finding as you're helping your couples that the cell phones have now gotten in the way of how they relate to each other and love each other because of, like, having that very readily in our faces?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It's like cell phone use has taken over everything for
Yeah.
relationships. If you walk down the street, every single person will be staring down into their phone, not paying attention to the world. And then it's the case for relationships too. A lot of couples just get into this habit of staring into their phones even while they're having a conversation. So they're not fully present and not paying attention to what the other person is saying. So it's very detrimental to a relationship. Like all the social media stuff, people are just staring at Facebook all day long and not paying attention to what's right in front of them. So it's really dangerous if you're addicted to social media and your cell phone, because then you're passing over the most important relationship in your life, which is right in front of you.
Yeah. I think there also is something to be said for the couple that post everything they do together and all of this. Usually in a relationship like that, one person wants to post on social media all the time. The other person really doesn't want their life out in public, but they don't have a choice because their partner like can't stop. And I know that that has probably created some new dynamics in our relationship as well. Because back in the day, if you want to take a picture with someone, you had to get it developed later and all of that. Now, you can take a picture of you guys eating together. The other partner doesn't really want to be in the picture, but in order to be with you, they're going to do it. And now your entire life is out on the internet. And so I know that has probably created a whole different dynamic. What do you want to say about quality time? I'm sure you have opinions.
We've touched on it quite a bit already, even prior to actually talking about this point. So before she said that is our number two, she said.
Yep.
Before that, I was gonna say, I bet as the expert, you probably could have guessed that that one was pretty high up on mine from my previous comments.
Yes.
So yes, I enjoy very much our couch time, as we put it, and I enjoy cooking in the kitchen with her. It's just very much that intentional one-on-one, just the
Mhm.
two of us, time, quality time. That's what we're talking about.
Mhm.
So, um, just another one of those things that we align on that I cherish and really hold high because I enjoy it, obviously.
Both of our past relationships, we kinda ended those relationships feeling alone inside of the relationship. And so we both realized that although we may have been in the same room with our partners, we weren't getting any type of attention or having any type of connection with them just sitting in the same room. And so knowing that's high on both of our list, we very much have to do okay, we're gonna have dinner. There's a no phone thing at dinner unless we start in a conversation that's like, well, I'm going to look that up. But then we're doing it together. It's not like I'm going to my social media and he's going to his and we're just, distancing. And so knowing quality of time has been an important thing in both of our worlds. We have said, at dinner, like, we're not bringing our phones to dinner. It's about just being face to face and not, bringing the rest of the world into what we have for, that time. So we've had to make that time.
I will say you mentioned communication a while ago as part of it too, which is something that we both feel is very, very important, really in any relationship. But that's probably accentuated a little bit more by that being one of our top, uh,
Mhm.
I guess, categories or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really important. One thing I find so sweet to see is when there's a really old couple in their 90s sitting on a bench, holding hands, saying I love you, and looking into each other's eyes. Right there, they're doing three of your top love languages. They're saying I love you, touching, and spending quality time together. And those are also my top three. So I think it's so sweet to see couples like that who are still so much in love and they're showing affection for each other in their top ways.
It's funny you mentioned that because my daughter, multiple times growing up and still today, she's 20. She uh, she sees an old couple in a restaurant or on a bench, like you say, or whatever, just being together. She just thinks, "Oh, that's just so cute." She just loves it, and I just find it funny that you can't bring that exact thing up. I hope she watches this now and sees
Yeah.
somebody else likes to see that too.
Yeah, I think it's the sweetest thing to see. I want to take a picture, but I don't.
Yeah.
She says that too.
Well, let's go to our last love language, which is acts of service. So, acts of service involves serving someone by meeting their needs in practical ways. If your partner feels that actions speak louder than words, you'd be improving the relationship by doing some acts of service. This can be as simple as taking out the trash or washing the dishes or helping them with a task that they are having trouble with. So the acts of service may be requested, but they shouldn't be demanded or taken for granted. So all sorts of things can be acts of service. And for some people, it's the most important thing. It shows that your partner really cares about you.
Yeah.
So
That's number 4 for me. That's his very last for him, although he gives acts of service really simply. And so, like around the house, it's nothing for him to do the dishes and to take out the trash without me even like making a slight comment about it. And so it's been interesting to know that that is on the very bottom of his scale, but yet he gives it really well. And so it's been interesting to see that difference. I I think probably part of the thing for me is I was a single mom for a long time and I just started doing my own, you had to manage your own household and I got really independent in it. So I don't put value there either because I know I can just do it all myself and I can manage it all myself and it's not that big of a deal. Just get it done. Because it is on the bottom of both of ours though, we very much try to get a system. So like I will cook and then do the leftovers after dinner while he's doing the dishes. Or, one of us will load the laundry and the other will switch it later. We try to fold it at the same time, one of us hanging up the clothes, the other one folding the things that need to be folded because it's at the bottom of both of our lists so that it doesn't put the burden 100% on one partner or the other, which I think has actually probably helped our relationship because it's not a resentment factor later. Like I do all the stuff and you never help. We luckily have kind of tried to balance that as much as we can. It's definitely not perfect. He does probably more than I do. Honestly, he rocks that out, but I try.
I find that it's just we're not really messy people,
Yeah. No.
so we like things in kind of order, I guess. somewhat. So I feel like, if there's dishes in the sink, they need to be done. Just do them. Or the same thing with the laundry or whatever it may be. Uh, I tell a story to. I used to have. I had some kind of employee type people in my last job. I'm self-employed, but I used to have other people that worked with me, and I used to tell them the story that I had from my very first job whenever I was a teenager, uh, which you work at a grocery store or whatever, so you're kind of over everything. That's where I was at. I was a grocery store, but the whole idea. I had a manager teach me one time. You know, we've got people that clean up at certain times and this and that. But if you are coming to work and you have to step over that piece of trash to come on in the door, why don't you just go ahead and pick it up? So it's kind of that mentality. It's kind of stuck with me for a long time, and so I
Mhm.
feel like if it needs done, do it. Just get it done. And I think we've both done that probably
Mhm.
for so long now. We just kind of take care of ourselves and do what needs to be done. That it just happens, and it's not really a thinking about, well, I'm helping her out. I'm giving her acts of service. It's just getting stuff done. I guess I don't. If that makes sense.
But your past relationship, your partner acts of service was higher on her list, and she enjoyed you doing those things for her, right?
Yes.
I mean, I think some of that's a little bit training.
So it's just I mean, again, natural.
Yeah.
If it comes natural, I don't know that it's because I don't. I think when I tested, I think it probably came to the last because I don't feel like I need anybody to do anything for me.
That's me.
I can take care of myself. I can do my own thing. I think that
Mhm.
through the testing process, I think that's probably how it got stuck to the bottom. I don't need anybody to give me anything. I don't care about you know help. I can take care of that myself. So, and again, it might be just training, like she says,
Mhm.
just because that's what you've been used to over time. And I feel like the whole love languages thing in general, and you might correct me on this or agree, I don't know, but I feel like it's all sort of a training or programming or whatever from either from when your childhood, growing up, your previous relationships, or whatever has all kind of formed you to where you are today. So,
Yeah. Actually, one thing I was going to add is that you can have different love languages at the top of your list depending on the relationship you're in. Because maybe, let's say, um, gifts are not that important to you. Like you think they're on the bottom of your list. But then you have a partner who never gets you anything. And maybe you start to crave it a little bit. Like you
Mhm.
think, oh, like it would be nice if he got me something once in a while. Like if he doesn't get you a gift ever, like not even for your birthday or a holiday,
Yeah.
then you might start to crave it and it might creep up to be higher on your list.
right,
So every relationship you're in, you might have a different order for what your top love languages are. And let's say words of affirmation is not that important to you. Like you're like, oh, I don't care if he says nice things to me, but then he never says I love you or never compliments you, and then you start to crave it. So then it again might become the number one thing on your list when it never was before.
right,
Yeah.
So so every relationship you're in, you could have different love languages. And I've actually taken the love language quiz so many times, and every time I get different results. It
Oh,
depends on my mood that day and the relationship I'm in. Because, as I said, it can change depending on who you are as a person and who you're involved with. So, your order can change constantly. And then another thing is that all five love languages are important. Even if you think gifts is at the top at the bottom of your list, it still is important. Like if you tell your husband like, okay, I don't really like gifts, you still like it's nice to receive a gift every once in a while, right?
yeah,
yes,
Yeah, so if he never got you anything, wouldn't you start to like feel bad about that a little bit?
probably, I
yeah.
would say.
I mean, I agree. Who doesn't like to get a gift or a surprise every once in a while? It's a
Yeah.
positive one. Obviously, we don't like the surprises that are negative, but Um, who doesn't like to just get some little extra something ever so often? I've taken flowers to her office to her
Mhm.
without her knowing what. Whoa, what are you doing? What?
Well, the last gift you got me, I actually got emotional about, and I'm not a crier. I don't have that, like, instant emotion thing. And the last gift he got me was hiding under a load of laundry. He purposely did not put the laundry away so I would help to find this little gift under the load of laundry, and I had, like, a small emotional reaction to it, and I was like, "I don't ever get emotional," and so but we don't do it very frequently, and so it does kinda stand out every once in a while. I don't think I don't feel like I'm to the point of craving it by any means, but when it happens, it's like, "Oh, wow," so
I
that's the
think it
thing.
fell a little bit under the words of affirmation
Yeah, it was a good one.
also. So it
Mhm.
wasn't just a gift. Dual purpose.
So
So yes, so I'll say the five love languages one more time.
Mhm.
Words of affirmation, gifts, physical touch, quality time, and acts of service. And everybody has a top and like a top three, and then but then remember that all five are important. So make sure you
Yeah.
show love in all five of those ways, no matter what order the love languages are for you and your partner. So they're all important, but you should find out what your top one is for your partner and make sure you show that type of love more than the others.
Yes, and you can find the quiz actually, if you Google the Love Languages book by Gary Chapman, they have a website. It's got a quiz, it's got everything, it's free, for anyone that wants to take it. It's right there, it's super easy, fast, results were instant. So, all right, so tell us a little bit about this book you have coming out.
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay.
This is the cover called Date to Find Your Soulmate.
Okay.
It's there are 20 chapters where I tell all sorts of great dating techniques for people that are looking to find that special someone. And I also tell a lot of personal stories because I've had many, many years of dating experiences. So I tell all sorts of stories. Some are funny, some are sad, some are like short and sweet. So it's very entertaining and educational for all the readers. Since I'm a woman, I'm writing this book towards women, but men have read it and they said they learned a lot too. So it's great for all types of people. In fact, married men have read it and they said they still learned a lot for their relationship. And the first week of the launch, February 2nd, is when it's on Amazon. You can get the ebook for 99 cents.
Oh,
So make sure you get it the first week because it's a great price and it's a great book.
awesome. Okay, so we will make sure to link the Amazon link to this video, this interview description. We will be publishing this. I think it's on like the 5th, so your book will have just come out. Let me
Perfect.
look here.
I think that's right.
Yeah, the 5th. So we will make sure to put the link to your book in the description of this interview so that anyone can click on it. Is there anything else like people should know on how to kind of get the guidance? I know you mentioned you had a website. How do people kind of get a hold of you or see you or whatever?
Yeah, so my website is lovelaughleisure.com, and you can find me on Facebook. My page is called Helping Singles Attract Love, but it's Love Laugh Leisure. And then I do a lot of videos. I do a weekly blog. You can add your email to my mailing list so you can find out about all the new stuff I have to offer. I do coaching for singles and couples. If you just want to get a little boost in your relationship, you're having some struggles, or if you just want to talk more deeply about love languages, I'm happy to do that. And then for singles, I can do one-on-one coaching, and I also have an 8-week program to really clarify who you are and what kind of person you're looking for so I can get you on the right track to find your soulmate.
Awesome. Okay, we will make sure we link all of those things to the description as well, so people can search you out and
Great.
see what else going on if they want coaching. sounds like you're very knowledgeable, and I think it would be awesome. Um, I know we've enjoyed the people that we've interacted with in the relationship world, and it's been super helpful for our relationship to just stay in touch with all the things that need to happen in a relationship. So it's definitely been a benefit for us for sure. So, any last words of advice for our viewers at all?
Yeah, we touched on it before about how communication is so important. Communication is key, and that's what the love languages are. It's communicating love to your partner. So make sure you communicate love however they like to receive it, and just get to know your partner fully and show love and receive love, because love is the best part of life.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank Rachel for joining us today. Make sure you check out her links in the description of this interview. I also want to thank my husband for joining me. He did not want to do this, so I appreciate him being here. Um, for all our viewers, make sure you subscribe to YouTube channel or the Anchor podcast service or the podcast service that you are subscribing to so that you can catch us every week. We've got new topics coming every week, and we've actually got some super cool, amazing things coming your way that I have set up. I'm just so excited about what this future of this podcast hold. So, everybody, I hope you have a great week, and we will see you next time. Bye.